Well, hello everybody. Thank you for coming back. Episode number 4 of the Valley of the Old Farm, or the Keep It Real series, which is what I want to call this one, because that is what we're doing. We're keeping it real. So, what's changed since the last episode? Other than I haven't done one for a little while, not a lot. So we'll slowly make our way up, and I'll explain a couple of things I've amended, but nothing major. The days are now set to ×3 per month, and I will keep the time at ×10. ×15 was a little bit too fast as well, I think. So I want to keep the weather as an element of this kind of series. So we do need it to be fast enough that it is going to make its way through the days, which is why I want to keep it at 3 days a month. And then at ×10 I think is reasonable. I think that's a good speed to stick to. So it still gives us a bit of challenge, having to check the weather forecast, having to try and plan out whether or not we're actually going to finish a contract in that time. I guess 3 days, what does it kind of mean? The first day in October, for example, would be the first part of the month. Second day would be the middle of the month. Third day would be the end of the month. Kind of works out. Not that it makes any difference at all, to be honest. Now, in changing those settings, I have also skipped forward to the next day, which has jumped us straight into October. So we have moved forward. We are now in October, and fortunately, this map has quite a few different things you can do, I guess, including harvesting and things. So what I was thinking was, in my head, I wanted to set a point on this map which we would have to go to check contracts. Again, just to try and make it a bit more real. Also, what it means is it puts a bit of pressure on me having to buy a vehicle to get around relatively quickly. So I don't know which point we're going to say is the point you have to come to create a contract. Something completely random, I guess, here. I was kind of hoping we'd get here and there'd be like some sort of like pretend notice board or something. Maybe there is, and I walk past it. But yeah, I just think that's quite a good little rule to set. So we have to actually walk or drive, hopefully, to a point on the map which we have to get to accept a contract, I guess, and start a new job. I think that is a pretty reasonable rule to do. And that point is going to be here, by the way. I have just really quickly added this in. So this little postcard stand is actually, we're going to pretend that's a little contract stand. So whenever we're here, we can accept contracts. It's just trying to stop me from pressing pause and pressing start whenever I want, really, to be honest with you. Just to add a little element to it. So we are going to pretty much start the day going straight into a contract. Now, I would really, really love to, by the end of this episode, have a vehicle. Quite a few people have suggested a bike. I'm sticking away from push bikes, and if you caught up with or watched any of the other episodes, especially if you're new and you've kind of been watching back, which I do appreciate. I know a lot of people have been doing that, but you will see that my history with that kind of bicycle isn't great, especially when you have the centre of gravity mod on. The REA mod just makes riding things like bicycles very different. However, what people have been saying is actual motorbikes. So I've installed 1 or 2 versions of a motorbike. I've not tried a motorbike. Whether or not they're just as difficult to ride as a push bike, I have no idea. But potentially that is an option. Ideally, what I would like to see is either a vehicle or a motorbike come up in the used vehicle section, because that would just be ideal. What I don't want to do, I'm quite conscious of having a kind of series going where all you do is contracts. So I want to do a little bit of both. So I don't want to spend too long just doing contracts. I don't think that would be great. Now, by the way, I mentioned in the last episode, it was a while ago, it was a week ago, but if you do remember, there was a 5th bit of land. It's essentially this random piece here. You can actually buy it. I don't like the idea of that, just purely because it's too flat. And also it's not really a kind of rural location, I guess, in the sense of you wouldn't kind of set up a farmyard when you've got a whole estate literally looking right at you. So I'm just going to skip through that one. It's a nice flat bit of land though. Yeah, we're not going to be doing that. Right, so let's head over and check out what contracts are available. And I'm thinking something a bit different this time round. Now we are in October. There are still normally various harvesting contracts available because it's that time of year where harvesting is required. However, today there's just Balaam. In fact, 14 has come back up. It's got a different owner now all of a sudden, I think. But that's the one that we've actually already done. So it went a bit funny. We're not going to do it again because that would kind of be cheating. What else have we got done here? I'd like to do something a bit different. Weeding. So, where is field number 4? I know that we said the ones to the 50s is probably kind of local. And then as you start getting into the 60s to the 90s is a bit too much. Okay, I mean, £1,000 to do that quite large field doesn't seem brilliant. However, it's only weeding. There's not much to it. It's not like baling. And to be honest, we've been really fortunate with the last couple of contracts because they seem to have really boosted the money. It's not going to be that easy. It's almost felt a bit too easy, if I'm honest with you. But I know that's not the case. It's almost like beginner's luck. Some of the contracts we've done. Yeah, that is definitely not going to be the case. So let's accept that one. Lovely, so we have accepted that one now. Now, of course, I've just tweaked it a little bit, but the equipment is over there ready and waiting for us. It's quite a bit of a walk. Quite a bit of a walk compared to the first contract we did. So maybe we'll jump in the taxi for that one. Now, a couple of people did kind of mention about being able to cut across fields. I think what I'll do, because I don't want to just kind of randomly run across that one over there, for example. If it's the field we're about to work in, like we were doing in this one, we can cut through it. If it's a different field owned by someone else, then we can't. I think that's a good basic kind of rule, just so I don't make it too easy, I guess. And again, I'm trying to, at this very, very early stage of the series, I'm trying to encourage myself to need to prioritise, like what I believe you would do in real life. I want to prioritise getting a vehicle, probably a car. By the way, just while we're here, I kind of didn't mention it, but whenever we need to buy a vehicle, we'll come to the shop and we'll actually buy it from the counter or wherever the actual sale point is. I'm pretty sure it's kind of here somewhere. Yeah, there you go. So it's pretty much there. So if we want to buy a vehicle, we'll have to come here to pick it up. Same goes for kind of anything in the used shop. I think it's reasonable that we can kind of access it, so we'll do it now. So when we look at the used shop, we'll go into that shop now. We see something we like, for example, we wanted to buy that. To actually buy it, even though we can see it, to buy it we've got to come back to the shop. What that will do is it will mean that we'll have to consider the time going up in the corner, whether or not we're actually going to be able to get in the taxi or get a vehicle back to the shop in time to buy the vehicle, to then go back to whatever job we're doing and finish it. So again, just little elements. I like to add these kind of little challenges to make it purposely overly difficult. I know it seems insane, but right, we're going to jump in here and get a lift to the field. Okay, brilliant. So that's it. The taxi driver is taking us to our next job. It is costing us a small penny, that is for sure. Now, one thing I didn't do, fortunately it's the very first of the month, but rent is due. So while this taxi driver is nearly running people over, we'll just jump in and pay our rent. So this is how I'm going to be doing it, by the way. So remove money, £800 is what we said. £800 removed, and there we go. £800 has gone to miscellaneous. So we've paid our rent, and we are paying a very small kind of taxi fare here. So again, the priority of this episode, I really love it if I can get a vehicle. Now the one that I really want, I will show you while he's kind of slowly driving. The one I really want is quite a new mod, and it's essentially a Mitsubishi L200, and I just think that is cool. To my knowledge, that's probably relatively it's common where I am in the UK. I would imagine, although obviously it's Japanese, I would imagine they're around in France. I do always, if you're quite new by the way, I'd like to try and stick to branded vehicles which are available in that kind of area. So I think that's reasonable. Now it's 20,000. These are the second options, by the way. So I haven't installed any old bikes. I haven't installed the motorbikes that cost like 3,000, only because it would be too easy. However, these look quite cool. The only thing I'm not sure about with these ones is they don't actually have the option for registration or number plates. So I'm not sure how I'm going to play that really. They do look pretty cool though. Now, taxi driver is here. Thank you very much, Mr. Taxi. Now, this is our job now for the minute. This is what we are going to be doing. So let's get going. I don't think this will take too long. These weeders do normally kind of open up relatively wide, so this shouldn't be too bad at all. However, it is a relatively big job. It's making us, you know, less than £2,000, so it is gonna be hard earnings from this point onwards, I feel. Alright, let's connect that up. Not that we could actually see what we were doing through the bush. That's fine. Now, I couldn't actually see whether or not I needed to connect any hoses or anything, so we'll just get out of that bush a minute first. If we can get out, and we'll spin around. Okay, right, will it unfold? Yes, it will. Yes, a pretty basic. It does have a PTO. Why does it have a bit? Oh, this is the weeder that can actually plant crop, isn't it? By the way, if you've never used this weeder, if you do like single player challenges or anything, this weeder will weed and plant crop at the same time. It doesn't plant a huge amount of crop, but it does plant canola. This is an absolute game changer. If you're starting off and you're trying to do something faster than someone else, you can weed and plant a field, and it's pretty damn wide really quickly. And this is part of the game, by the way. This isn't a mod. I can remember this is one of the first I guess planters, almost you could call it, a planter weeder. I used to use this all the time. Makes a huge difference. Right, anyway, that should be good to go. So let's get weeding. Now, we are damaging the crop. I'm not too worried about it because it isn't ours, and as a few people have agreed, actually they should give me better equipment, shouldn't they? It's not really my fault. However, this is going to leave a lot of kind of tram lines, I guess, really. I did notice in the menu you can turn that off. You can change it so it doesn't damage other fields than your own. But I've got to leave it on because it looks cool, and you would too. There's also a setting I didn't realise, but you can actually damage the normal ground if you slip, rather than just damage fields. So I think that's quite cool. God knows what the state of our land will look like by the time once we've actually bought a piece, I should do, but by the time we've driven on it a few times, it'll probably be awful. I am pretty sold, by the way. Thank you for all the comments. I'm pretty sold on plot number 2. Now, plot number 1 seemed a bit obvious because the sheer amount of trees, the sheer amount of money in that piece of land. You'd probably triple, quadruple the money that you pay for the land. I could even do that and sell it and move on to the next piece, but I'm not going to do that. So I think land piece number 2, literally start from scratch. Might be the odd tree we need to chop down just to make space, but it's just the sheer landscaping challenge which I like, which is going to be pretty good. So we'll go with that eventually. Now my thinking is, we get a vehicle, potentially a vehicle in this episode. at the end of October or the beginning of November, that would be 3 months in the rented accommodation. So therefore, in my eyes, means we've built up enough of a credit score to potentially get ourselves a first loan. Now, quite expensive to pay back. I have got the advanced loan mod activated, which is going to make it very realistic from an interest rate point of view. However, we can probably get a small loan, invest it in that little plot of land, and then slowly but surely start to buy the correct equipment to start to do it up, make it a bit of a home. So that's kind of what I'm thinking a few episodes ahead, and hopefully that will work. Now, we're leaving a bit of a mess here, but it ain't too bad. We have just done 10% of the field though. Honestly, you can see now how wide this cedar really is, and it's pretty good. If this was weeding and planting canola at the same time, even a field this big won't actually take that long. So, and it's pretty cheap. This is one of the cheapest weeders you can buy in the game. So if you're playing base games with minimal mods, this is a really good attachment to go for right at the beginning. And it doesn't take a huge amount of power to run it. I don't know what kind of tractor this is, but it's a Vultra, but it's a small Vultra. Doesn't take a lot at all. Now, I've got this far into an episode and I don't know what I'm doing, by the way. I've not even mentioned it. Wow, I've got over 1,000 subs. I've got over 1,000 subs, and I honestly did not think I would, do it that quickly for definite. I knew one day, realistically, you know, you've got to be real. You've got to know what to expect. I knew one day I would get there, because I would just keep going until I did, but I didn't expect it that fast. So thank you very much. Honestly, I really appreciate it. It's funny, 1,000 unlocks lots of extra things. For me, I only wanted 1,000 mainly because it allowed me to kind of share my videos to the wider audience. I think once you get to that magic number of 1,000, YouTube start to push your content a little bit more so people can see it. But actually it opens up all sorts of things. So within a day of getting 1,000, there was a little form that automatically came up. I filled that out. The next morning I woke up to a big sign saying you are now a YouTube partner. I mean, wow, how cool is that? That's a good achievement, isn't it? Almost like a lifetime achievement, I guess, really. I'm officially a YouTube partner. My kids think it's pretty cool. They think it's really cool. I think they're going into school telling all their friends that I'm a YouTuber. Who'd have thought it? But yeah, it's great. But thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. Of course, if you are quite new to the channel, if you are one of those 480 new subscribers I've gained this month alone, please do have a look at a couple other series. My kind of creme de la creme, you could say, given we're in a French map. The one that I spend the most amount of time on is roleplay. I call it roleplay story mode because I don't like to reuse the name of roleplay survival. We've got a really good YouTuber already doing a good roleplay survival. However, I guess you could say it's kind of similar, but it's not. It's definitely got my own kind of spin on it, just like all of my videos have. But please have a look at that. The sheer amount of time that they take to edit and kind of make and consider and think about the storylines, that is definitely, from my YouTube channel, the thing that takes the most amount of time. So check it out. Do have a look. And then secondly, you know, my other series that I'd really like you to have a look at is the Edgewater Saskatchewan series. So I call it Sask Survival Style. Again, it's a little bit like a survival challenge, but I don't want to call it survival challenge because again, there are really good YouTubers that kind of have their own survival challenge going on, and it's kind of like that, but it's got my twist on it. It's a little bit different. So I'm not kind of name dropping and using the generic survival challenge. It's survival challenge with a twist, a bit like this. This has got a kind of a twist to it as well. So yeah, check those two out. I really appreciate it. So we're just approaching about halfway through this field now. It is taking a little bit longer than I thought. Yeah, this is a hard-earned 1,500 quid or whatever it was that they're paying us. This is definitely... I'm feeling the pain a bit on this one, that is for sure. Please ignore the driving in the distance there. I was trying to do some cinematic shots and I wasn't really looking where I was going, so I went a bit wobbly. Right. So, yeah, going back to the 1,000 sub thing, so I always said, and I know I've said it to some people before, some of my kind of original viewers, but I'd probably, when I got to 1,000, give a bit of streaming a go. Now, I've never done streaming, by the way. I know I can do it, because YouTube always gives me the option to do it. And also, you know, the various bits of software I use for recording and things, they also allow me to do streaming anyway. So, it will be a new thing for me. But I think maybe it could be worth doing. So I purposely set up the SAS Survival series, the Edgewater Saskatchewan, with crossplay only mods. Now clearly you can tell from this series I don't play on a console, I do play on a PC. However, I wanted to keep that one purely open to anyone, because I wanted to have that kind of feature, that little bit that makes it different, and that was to have real people actually come on and help me on the farm. And as it stands, I think I'm 34, 35 episodes into it. I've not actually had enough kind of jobs and tasks built up to require me to do that yet. However, it's getting pretty busy on that series now. There's a lot of stuff to do, a lot of things to get on with, and actually, given that I've kind of met that 1,000, which I really wanted to do, now seems like the right time to do it. So I'm thinking a live stream, but with other players. So I can have up to... I do have a server. I have my own server actually now, by the way. My cousin, who's a kind of techno whiz, has sorted us out a server. So I'm not renting it from anywhere. I'm not using like Nitrado or G-Portal. I'm literally our own server. We've just had to buy another license of the game to build it up and do it, but we have got that. We have got it running. We just kind of log in together, and he's very new to the game, so he's still very much learning the many aspects of Farming Simulator, and that's not something you can pick up on overly quickly, not into the details of it. But I do have that option. I can open it, I can run it as a server. The limit for people then is whatever we want it to be. You know, if I wanted to have 16 people, then we'll just set it to have 16 people. It doesn't really cost us any more money. But actually what I'll probably do is just host it as a standard multiplayer game. So my save game of Edgewater Saskatchewan, which uses only crossplay mods that anyone can just kind of view details and download in bulk, and join the server to join me for a kind of a live stream, I guess. So I won't be doing game chat on it, but I will probably talk while I'm on it. My only experience of streaming is watching other people, and it seems like a bit of a juggling act really, to actually play the game, do what you need to do, and kind of talk to people. So I think given everything that needs to be done kind of digitally through texting, through kind of the live stream, for example, is probably how we'll do that for, I don't know, a couple of hours session. So that's in the planning. It is something I do want to do, and I'll probably do it maybe next week. We'll have to see. I've got a little bit of content to catch up on, because I've mentioned it before, but if you haven't quite seen any of the previous episodes yet, it is half term this week. Half term when you have 3 children means pretty busy week. Hence the reason, you know, my days off work have been doing things with children. Yeah, you don't find so much time to kind of get into a game and create some content. That tends to be like now. This is Wednesday evening, for example. Not only is it half term, the kids have been really poorly, which doesn't help at all. So yeah, I do want to catch up a bit with that, and what I don't do in this week, I will try and catch up on, and maybe try and increase the amount of episodes I release for next week to make up for it. Especially for the kind of the new subs, I guess, because there's nothing more annoying than subscribing to someone only to find out that they don't even create content that kind of effectively or consistently. And I do want to be consistent, so I will get back on it. And again, if you're, the good thing is I'm not posting a huge amount of content this week, but maybe it does give a lot of people a chance to kind of go back and watch some of the previous series, and I know there's a lot of people doing that, by the way, because thank you very much. You're all kind of commenting on all of those videos, which in the world of YouTube, that the kind of algorithm thing, that all helps greatly, so thank you very much. You may have noticed in the little cinematics, by the way, I think I did a pretty good job of making my little character, my little tractor driver, actually pretty much looks like me, you know. I reckon that's a pretty close match. I mean, I'm sure if I stream, I guess really you should have some sort of camera on whilst you're doing streaming. So I don't know if anyone would want to see my ugly face, but I do kind of look a little bit like this guy. Yeah, it's not too far off anyway. Right, come on, I haven't seen this notification in the top right for a little while, so I don't actually know now how much of the field we have done. I've kind of lost where we are. Let's go back down this way. Okay, it's just come up in the top corner. It is at 80%, so we're nearly there. This is by far the hardest couple of grand we've earned in this series, but it's fine. It's going to be worth it. It will just take us over the £20,000 mark. So I reckon we are looking promising to get ourselves a nice Mitsubishi L200 in this episode, but we'll see. We've paid our bills, we've paid our rent. There's no reason why we can't spend some money now. Now, by the way, just once we do eventually buy our plot, we're not gonna be able to jump straight into living in a house. And this, not so much of a rule, but it's just me in general and my preferences. So I don't like to buy farmhouses which you cannot interact with, which you cannot go inside of, for example. I always like to be able to actually go in, you know, and they have kind of a bed, and they have a kitchen and stuff. I think it's different. More and more YouTubers are using a lot of those interactive houses now, but just walking up to a doorstep, a bit like we're doing with the rented one, which really is only there as a bit of a challenge, but I don't really like that. I'd rather be able to go inside and actually got to a bed and sleep. So I'm not going to be just buying any old house just to be able to kind of stop paying rent and save that money. It needs to be a proper house. Now also, you know, if I do things like tent, yeah, I can place a tent. We'll buy some land, we can place a tent. To me, that's not a registered address. So I'm assuming the laws, certainly the laws of the UK, I'm assuming they might be the same in France, you know, European laws, that a tent isn't a permanent residence. It's not a residence where you create an address. Now I've been speaking to a lot of people, a lot of my kind of viewers from America. I think in America you can pretty much place down a letterbox, and that plot of land becomes residential. That becomes an address. It doesn't quite work like that over here. I mean, yes, potentially you could probably do something like that, but it is a bit different. So I'm going to play it where we actually need a house. So that house we're staying in, the rental, that's going to be sticking around for a little while. Absolutely, the kind of houses that I like, the ones that you can interact with, are normally like at best 50,000-60,000. Some of the bigger ones are up 100. I think some of them are even 200,000. So we're not going to be earning that for a minute or two. So this rental house that we've got, this contract for rent, is something we're going to want to keep. Now I could stay in a tent, by the way, but then officially I don't have a residential address. So we could stay in a tent and save the £800 a month, but we will then lose the option to have a loan, or potentially lease some vehicles. So again, I'm setting these rules because I just want that little bit of challenge. What I have noticed recently actually is, a lot of I seen a post actually on a forum yesterday of someone saying, it gets a bit repetitive, this game sometimes. You start a new map, you start with a bit of money, you buy some land, you buy the equipment, and you kind of plough the fields, plant the fields, harvest the fields, plough the fields. Yeah, it kind of can. If you play it that way, it does get repetitive. If you play it with your own rules and your own kind of stipulations to make it a bit different, a bit like I'm doing now, a bit like I do in kind of all of the series, it's a completely different game. It's almost like you are playing an actual different game altogether. Just makes it so much more challenging. So yeah, that's why I kind of put these stipulations in place. Not because I want to make it easier, I'm purposely making it harder on myself. And what I'm trying to do with it is add elements of the game into it which you don't kind of see too often. So hopefully that comes across, and I do know that people kind of take some ideas from this kind of thing, and it changes the way that people play it. So if it has done that, I'm glad. If I've been even a 3% interest in changing the way that you've decided to play a particular game, then I'm pretty happy with that. I am quite proud of that, and yeah, let me know actually, that would be quite interesting to know. Okay, this is it. This is the final push. There are some more weeds around here somewhere. Where are they? I see them. Here we go. Let's lower that down. Right, so yeah, so this should be it now. We do this last kind of run straight through the middle of the field, and then, well, actually the contract has finished already, but we'll finish this little strip. Let's do it properly. We want to make sure we get a good reputation. Someone did comment actually, and I like it. Start off with small contracts, and then as you get your kind of reputation with the local farmers, you can do bigger contracts, and I like that. And it kind of works with the way I do it anyway, because what I don't want to do is jump straight into the biggest possible contracts in the map. I think we are pretty good now actually, So yeah, I don't want to jump to the biggest fields and use the biggest equipment straight away anyway. To me it just doesn't, it takes away from the challenge. But yeah, I like that. Start small. So, realistically, if I see a contract that I think, wow, that's pretty good, then that's quite easy. If it's too big, we won't take it, just to try and keep the balance. Sometimes you can get fertilizing contracts that pay out like 25 grand. That would probably be a bit much. Now, we are done. So, certainly well used. He's going to need to clean that tractor off. Pretty good. We damaged the crop a little bit. Sorry about that. Next time put some wider tyres on it. Yeah. Although I suppose wider tyres would damage it even more, wouldn't they? Right, so we could call the taxi and get him to take us back, or we can slowly make our way home. Which I think is what we're going to do now, to be honest. And also, by the way, 1 hour long episodes. The last 2 episodes have been over an hour. I don't like that. There's 2 main reasons I don't like it. An hour long episode is quite a stint of your time, isn't it? And it's the same for me. I think an hour is a little bit too long. It's a fine line between too short and too long. Seeing something that's an hour long, sometimes that's not something you can do in one stint. I think 45 minutes you can sit there and you can quite happily watch it. An hour is quite an investment of your day. And secondly, the biggest frustration is the sheer amount of time it takes YouTube to upload a 1 hour long video with, relatively good quality. The bit rate's pretty high. Honestly, some of my episodes have been coming out very late in the evening. I think actually one of them I released at 8 o'clock in the evening. It's the first time I've ever released a video that late. I normally try to where possible, go for kind of 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon. The reason that was so late is because it took so long. It took over 6 hours to upload that video. That was just too much. And you know what it means is I've got to keep it all running. I've got to keep the website running and the computer running the whole time it's uploading. It's a bit of a pain. So yeah, I'll see how it goes. But the good thing about this is I don't time lapse a lot. I don't skip a lot. So however long I'm recording for, minus 5 or 10 minutes is pretty much how long an episode is going to be. So my aim is to try and get to around 45 minutes. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if I've gone a bit over again, but yeah, stick with 45 minutes-ish. That grass has grown so fast, considering we only just cut it. Right, this times 10, by the way. Let me know what you think, but I think it's pretty good. We've done that job. It's 20 past 4 in the evening. She used up the day quite well. Feels about right now to stop working. Yeah, I think it's a pretty good balance. Definitely. And 3-day months are going to be required. Now, what I am going to do, let's not head straight home actually. Just like we have to collect contracts from the little kind of postcard stand, we'll also actually collect our wages from that same stand as well. So just gives us an extra element. So we have to go there to get the job and go back there to get our money, to get our wages for doing it. Okay, here we are, just approaching the stand now. I can't remember how much it was. I want to say it's like 1,500 quid. 1,662. Minus though, whatever they're going to charge us. Yeah, so we're only... It's just crazy, isn't it? We're only actually making £789 from that today. How wonderful. What else is on there at the minute? Cultivating 64. It's not as good as it sounds. In actual fact, baling is a pretty damn good option, isn't it? Definitely is a pretty good option. Right, fine. So, guess what? We haven't got enough to get that out 200. So, between this episode, I'll probably pause this now, skip the day, and then start recording the next episode, which will be episode 5. So, if you do say anything, suggest anything, I'm not ignoring you. I do promise. I've just already filmed the next one. But it looks like we're not getting that out 200 this episode. So maybe in the middle of October we will get our first vehicle. Out 200 I think is where I'm going to go though. I do quite like that, and I haven't actually, other than seeing some mod reviews, Mr. Sealy P, and some decent mod reviews from the big names, but I've not seen anyone use it. So it'll be nice to use something a bit different again. So hopefully you've enjoyed it. Hopefully it's not taken too much of your time up to watch this, and please do, if you're new, just take a look at those 2 other series I mentioned. Certainly the roleplay story mode, because up until this series came out, that was always the most popular series, and I do feel now that I've got lots of new people on board, that will still be a popular series if you do go back and watch it. So yeah, well, that's it today. 1st of October, done. Until the middle of October, cheers and gone.